Hello. Today we'll have a podcast with Markus Van Gumpel. Markus has had a distinguished career holding various leadership positions across multiple geographies and continents at Procter Gamble. At one point, he oversaw the concepts of lean manufacturing and TPM, which is the total productive maintenance for the India, Middle East, and Africa regions. He also served as manufacturing head and plant manager. After his time at P&G, Markus transitioned to other multinational companies, eventually becoming the vice president of manufacturing. Currently, he serves as the senior vice president and resides in Germany. Some of the skills and expertise that he has is really cross-functional team leadership. He's also proficient in planning and managing production operations to meet market demands. Last but not the least, he's skilled in implementing TPM strategies to enhance operational effectiveness and maximize efficiencies above industrial norms. Markus' global experience and leadership in manufacturing have positioned him as a prominent figure in the industry. Without further ado, let us get into a small chat with Markus. Hi, Markus. Good afternoon to you.
Hi, Madhav.
How are you doing?
Good so far. I mean, for you it's afternoon. For me, it's still midday or morning.
Yeah, it's more like morning for you. Yeah. So let's start, Markus. I just wanted to ask you, based on your experience, I wanted to ask you because you worked in various geographies and different countries, implementing manufacturing excellence concepts, what we call in P&G integrated work systems. Were you able to apply the same approach everywhere, or because you were also playing a very pivotal role in executing these concepts in different countries, different geographies, different continents? So what was your approach? Was it the same approach everywhere, or did you need to adapt your strategy to different locations, cultures?
I mean, you said one very important word. This is execution. So for me, the approach was the same, I would say, or similar. For sure, in different countries, different cultures, you have to have different hows to do it. So for me, the way how to get people to ownership, how to execute them standards, how to do this in a daily direction setting meeting every day, how to role model it. For sure, this is different in different countries because the cultures are different. Yeah. So for me, the main thing is to get the people into execution, to get us all into execution. And this is different on the how, but the what is in principle similar or the same.
Mm-hmm. So, but when you are executing the how, would you give some examples of, without mentioning countries, but then would you be able to give some example of how certain things had to be tweaked or changed versus different plants or different cultures?
I think some cultures require a bit more directive style. Some cultures a bit more, very positive motivational style. By the way, this positive motivational style is anyhow always the best because you need the involvement of the people. So you need to not talk to the people and say this is right, but to convince people, to let them also come up what is the right thing to do and what fits best to this plant or to this country, to this culture. So I always try to get people involved. And therefore, for sure, you know these OPM, so organization performance model, where, and this is quite right, because we need to focus on the things which works right and which we want to keep. And then also, maybe here we can improve. And this is then a team, how can I say, a team effort to get it written down, to get it clear, to get it worked together. And therefore, I'm a big fan of this OPM, to get people involved as one team, one goal approach.
So, like you mentioned this convincing people, and I also know, based on some experience that I have, that, in some places convincing is, as you rightly said, is relatively easy. And in some places convincing takes a bit of an effort, and people get convinced, they will do it. And in some cases, even after conviction, you still need to monitor people, right? So, did you also face similar challenges?
I mean, for sure. I mean, these convincing, for example, typically I say, let's focus first on the 3 AM autonomous maintenance DMSs and the 2 PM DMSs, for sure, together with the org pillar stuff, etc. But when we then go into these AM DMSs, and then center lines, defect finding, etc. For sure, some people say, we always did it like this, and why should we change now, and these kind of stuff. This is only doable then by giving example every day, being with the guys on the shop floor, during the pit stop, during the cleaning events, during the center lining events, during the changeovers. And when you do this, and you see first successes, also when you ask in the morning, in the morning meeting, what is the standard? Or when they have a problem, what is the standard? What is the center line? Are we on standard? Why not? Can we go back to standard? What is then the outcome of it? And these things, when we see first successes, we go back to standard and line is running. Wow, what a wonderful thing, because then the belief starts, and then we have a kind of belief for the standards, for the center lines, for the defect fixing, finding first for sure, but then fixing. Then you get it into convinced. People get more and more convinced. And when the snowball is rolling, then it will work. For sure, every day you need to be on the floor in the morning meetings and ask for the standards, ask for how can we get better, how can we get more to standards, because this will help everything. This will help the OEE, this will help the scrap, this will help the consumer complaints, because you got more and more to standards, and things are getting better, and all components getting better.
Absolutely. You mentioned a very good point to say you need to be on the floor. I think that's very critical, because just by preaching and sitting in an office will not work. So, yeah. And building on that, in your experience, what single behavior, if I have to take out, because you also mentioned OPM, what single behavior or cultural attribute is like most critical in driving the success of a manufacturing excellence initiative?
Now I would say one word is ownership. So for me, ownership, getting into each level of the organization, in the operation, but also in the support group, ownership is the main single behavior. And the ownership starts, in my opinion, with the respect for the capabilities of everyone. So everybody has capabilities, and everybody wants to win. And when you foster this together, then when everybody has some strengths with a common goal, like in a football team. So the defender, the goalkeeper, the striker, so everybody has special strengths. Foster these strengths, leverage the strengths, and then get the team to a common goal. then the ownership will raise and raise and raise and raise, and we will win the match.
How would you inculcate ownership across different cultures? Like, for example, now I will only mention a positive area. For example, when we were doing certain consultations in Japan, the ownership was fairly simple, because everybody wants to contribute. They have high commitment, high passion. Uh, there are certain countries where that level of ownership doesn't come that easily. So how do we build that level of ownership in people? Is it again going back to what you said a while back on being with them, role modeling, trusting them, all that stuff?
For sure, you see differences. I would say it's depending on countries, yes, but it's also within countries, within cultures, it's already different. So you have to go into also companies, different cultures. Very clear. So for me, main thing is be with the guys and foster this respect for each and everyone. And with this respect, you work together with them on the floor, like you said, and then you create this kind of want to win thing in each and every person. And this want to win thing, this is then getting more and more ownership, etc. And then also we stick more to standard, we have more ownership, we have small successes, and then the results go up. I would say for sure it's different cultures, but everybody wants to win. This is what I realized over my years. You only need to find the right trigger points.
Now, I mean, I always hear this because you're talking about ownership. I always hear this from certain places, especially not in PNG, but outside as I'm playing the new role of a global consultant. I realize that there is some amount of resistance from certain places where people don't get convinced that easily. It's like, especially certain places in Eastern Europe and a lot of other places where, we have certain unions, they believe that these programs drive productivity, and in the end, you end up losing jobs. So if you tell me that I have to work very hard, and and then after that, it's like I'm sitting on a branch of a tree and I'm cutting the same branch because I'm going to fall. So so how do you think this whole ownership and conviction how can we drive, because we have successfully driven that. I know that you have done that, and in some cases I too have done that. How do you think we can drive this ownership and conviction in such areas? It might take longer time, but how do you think we should approach these places?
So in principle, you say when we talk about IWS or these systems to create ownership, this is talking about productivity, and then productivity is normally not seen in these worlds as a kind of help, because we cut some places or people to have to work in a different way. For me, these IWS integrated work systems, however you want to call it, these create capability, and with this capability, the ownership, and then you need to convince the people that this is not to cut working places. Because typically when you get also better results, better quality, you also have better things to sell. And then the volume is also growing again. So I always say good people, good owners, good capable people will always find a new challenge. Work systems create capable people, create owners, which have then more capabilities to grow and take new challenges, and then also volume will come, etc., etc. This is how I always realized it. Because when you also when you grow, get better results, people in different locations also see this, and then they will assign more volume to you. Yeah, and this is the thing. What I always believe is, which we can also work in these union organized countries, etc.
Yeah, I remember one example that I was also giving to some people in my one of my consulting visits, where people asked me this question, and this person who was actually doing it, he was just loading certain roles on the machine. So I asked him if he wants to retire doing that work, or does he want to do something more meaningful in the future, so that even if the job shuts off, say if you don't do it, you will produce poor quality, the plant will shut down, you lose your job anyway. But now, having said that, if you do this, as you rightly said, there'll be more volume, there'll be better quality product, and it might grow. And on top, you are also adding on to new skills where your market value increases. So, and you will do a better job rather than coming every single day and just loading something or doing some monotonous, same repetitive work every day for the rest of your life. So which one is better? Yeah, I mean, absolutely. So this makes perfect sense. Um, Now, one interesting question that I've been asking most of the gurus, including Gerardo, I asked this question. Um, can reading books on TPM, Lean Management, Six Sigma, or a lot of these companies also have started, poaching from Procter Gamble. They start hiring, some experts for this. What they have different names, but let's call it manufacturing excellence. Um, do you really believe that this will help, or this in itself as a standalone, just by reading books and hiring the best people from P&G who are experts, this will drive results?
I mean, it's all coming back to this first thing on the execution. So reading books for sure will help because you understand a bit more. Nevertheless, this is not enough. For me, it starts all with, one team, one goal, creating these OPM and getting the team together. And then you need to execute it every day in the daily direction sitting, every day in the pit stop, executing standards, creating ownership, executing standards, creating ownership, following the DMSs, the daily management systems, etc. So, and then on a monthly basis, the plan, do, check, act things. So for me, reading books, yes, helpful, but then to really get it into the floor, into each and everybody, into the whole organization, you need to be on the floor, in the DDS, on the pit stop every day. And this is the whole thing to get it multiplied. Because, I mean, you can also give everybody a book, but this will also not help because you need to work it together as a one team.
And would it also matter on what you measure? Because we also have this issue of the scorecard managers. So people keep pushing for some numbers, incremental scorecards. You and I have been through this even within Procter Gamble with certain people who are completely scorecard driven and don't understand the intent behind it or the cultural implications or how to drive the culture. Do you believe that this the stretch is important, of course, but do you also believe that you just cannot end up becoming a scorecard manager, especially with data analytics and everything coming? There's tons and tons of data now everywhere globally. And you at a press of a button, you can get everything that's happening everywhere. So people are sitting in different head offices, clicking buttons and expecting, and micromanaging. Do you think this is helpful?
I mean, for sure, you need to track some stuff. You need to track output measures, 100%, because otherwise you lose the track on things what you wanna reach. But when you think about these OGSM concept, objectives, goals, strategy, measures, together with the strategies, in my opinion, the behaviors are the most important stuff. And then you need to think about the goals, what you want to reach, the measures, what you want to reach. And this is then, I prefer sometimes when I want to change something to focus on in-process measures to get the right behavior, because this right behavior, you need to have a plan in mind together with outcome of the OGSM. And then these behavior in-process measures will anyhow give you the result on the output measure. And this is then the thing. So when you, for example, track defect, find, fix, something like this, you create this ownership, and you know this ownership will anyhow help you on the consumer complaints, on the OEE, on the scrap, on the waste. So in principle, to drive change, I believe these in-process measures is more effective to get the output measures right, because tracking only the output measures with giving the guys no working together thing, we will track it and we will track it. That's it. But the in-process measures, we will drive the change in the cultural behaviors.
Which will also be long-term and sustainable. And this is one of the
100%.
right? This is one of the reasons why people deliver results with their muscle power and then they fall, because the basic culture is not there, or there is no focus on in-process measures. Perfect. I mean, this is great conversation. I have the last question to you. What happens is, and this is again a typical issue that a lot of people ask me, which is they're progressing, say, in certain phases. Obviously, they're going in phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. They're bringing in people, training them, building this conviction that you talked about, convincing them, driving the right behaviors, and then they leave the company. So, so there is attrition. So you have constantly new hire of people. And on the other hand, there is competition is so high that everybody wants to stay ahead in terms of innovation. So there is always a push for new machinery, new level of digitization, new level of automation, new product designs, new stock SKUs, and new product codes and stuff like that. So it's a constant journey of having new innovations, new initiatives, and also a constant move of new people, because whether irrespective whether there is an attrition issue or the business is growing, you are hiring people all the time. And then when you're going through this journey of a sequential journey of phase 1, 2, 3, 4, it really doesn't make sense, because people are then pushing themselves because they believe that this phase 3, phase 4 is like a reward, rather than really focusing on how do I maximize the output out of this particular phase and make sure that all the losses are eliminated. So what is your perspective in this whole thing?
I mean, when I cluster the question, for sure, innovation, in my opinion, is the lifeblood. I mean, if you do nothing, you will survive for a while, but then someday you will have no business anymore. So innovation is definitely the lifeblood of all operations or of all businesses, I would say. People coming in, leaving, leaving. Project managers coming in, leaving, get the education, and then leave again. I think we have to live with this to a certain extent, because we also can get people, as said, more capable people can also go to more challenges, and internally we can bring them into more challenges. For me, the main thing on an innovation is also that it's the early involvement of some, for example, operations people. They need to be leading these kind of stuff. They need to be involved. What is doable? What is not doable? What is the challenge? Etc. etc. So for me, main thing is innovation needs to be owned by all, yeah, let me say 3, 4 different stages: product development, process development, project management, and then execution in the plant. So for me, early involvement of the plant people in the beginning of the process development, maybe even product development, but also then product development, process developer, going with the whole team into the line and working this together as one group, for me, essential. And then we can also, yeah, see who owns very much the things, who is ready for a next challenge, and then we can give people also next challenges. And this is then also for the attrition part, in my opinion, quite helpful, because when people get more responsibility, more ownership, they will also stay. They
Yeah,
will like it.
absolutely. If they have more ownership and more responsibility, they will stay. Yeah, absolutely. That's right on. So, Marcus, thank you very much. This is a very short and brief conversation, but then it was very helpful, and I really appreciate. Thank you for your time, and I hope the viewers will also like it. And then if there are further reactions or anything, I'll definitely come back to you. So thank you very much for this, and have a great
Thank you,
day.
Maraf. Thank you, Maraf, for inviting me. Also, when I saw your first podcast already, where Gerard or Dawn were in, for sure, these are people with a lot of experience. They hired me or educated me in the beginning of my career. So, I mean, it's nearly an honor for me to talk also in this podcast with you.
Yeah,
Thank you very
absolutely.
much.
Yeah, we are more like batchmates because they are my gurus as well. So, yeah, so yeah, so it's great. So,